Well, to shed more light on what's happening with these troubled elections, I'm joined now live from our London studios by the African Affairs analyst and publisher of Africa Briefing, John Ofei-Ansah. Good to see you, John. And here I was, thinking we're going to be talking about a non-event tomorrow. But now, of course, the election is going to take place.
The election will take place tomorrow. That's the 27th of March, as scheduled, because the chairman of the National Electoral Commission, over the weekend, first stated that he would go ahead with the preparations, despite the earlier court ruling, and then later on, I think he changed his mind, to abort the preparations. So we are not sure, as of now, we are not sure if the runoff will take place as scheduled tomorrow.
Right. I suppose what is quite interesting about all this is what this means in terms of the injunction that was originally placed on the elections by the court, because of course that was brought by a member of the ruling party, and of course the ruling party were the ones who lost, were edged out in the first sort of run of the elections. I mean, does this suggest now that those allegations of some level of fraud were simply not accepted by the court?
Actually, when they first after the earlier ruling, I think on Friday or Thursday, there was an outcry from both the opposition and civil society. Okay, even some civil society groups going to the extent of accusing the judiciary and the whole, legal community of not being able to stand up against the ruling government to do the right thing. And again, there were some rumblings of a return to what maybe happened in the 1990s that triggered the bloody civil war. Okay, so I believe that the court, in its wisdom, saw it fit to set aside the earlier ruling and let the process, go on, as planned.
Right, and on a practical level, John, can the Electoral Commission actually, hold this election on Tuesday, that's tomorrow, now that the injunction's been lifted, given the fact that they've simply not been able to dispatch election materials to the various polling stations?
Well, personally, from my experience of elections in Africa, I don't believe the runoff can take place tomorrow. Number one, for logistical reasons, ballot boxes, ballot papers have to be transported across the whole country to the polling stations all over the country. I'm not sure this could be done in less than 48 hours. At least, the Electoral Commission needs at least 72 hours, considering the size of the country, 72 hours to take care of the logistics. So personally, I don't believe the runoff can take place tomorrow.
Right. And is there a sense, John, that following that devastating civil war in Sierra Leone and attempts to put Sierra Leone on the straight and narrow, that this sort of judicial oversight, what some might call legal interference, might undermine the country's hard-earned democratic credentials, as one journalist put it?
Yes, if, the earlier ruling had stood, chances are, it could have undermined, the fragile democracy. Because, like I said earlier on, there were rumblings by some people of a possible return, to armed or civil disobedience. And civil disobedience or whatever could be the trigger for another armed conflict. Because the situation, though the civil war ended in the late 1990s, I believe the situation is so fragile. There could be some undercurrents that we might not know of. So any error in judgment by the legal system, by the judiciary, or by any politician, could spark, trouble in the country. So I believe, like I said earlier on, I believe the court, in its wisdom, saw it fit, to let this election, the runoff, go ahead.
Okay, John, thanks very much indeed. We'll leave you to fiddle with your earpiece there. John Ofe-Ansah, the African Affairs analyst and, of course, the publisher of Africa Briefing, live there from our studios in London.